Play listening, a playful role reversal that puts the child in charge of the relationship for a limited time, that allows the child to resolve difficult issues laughing about it. Like your toddler who's just learning to walk, falling over themselves laughing because you tripped on something. It's hilarious when someone else has the problem. And you can take it on in a good-natured way, it's not a big deal, because you know you can walk. So you can goof around with things like that. So what we're suggesting to parents is that they consciously and regularly create opportunities where there's this distinct play period where the child is given the upper hand and we take on the conflict, the problem. I'm sure Todd will talk much more about the nuances there. But there are a couple things that are new to the research paper that you've all seen. There, you can look through all the science and quotes that relate to play listening, but you won't see the American Academy of Pediatrics has recently released a report about the importance of play. And there's this whole movement to get play back in schools and to get recess back and things like that. And the American Academy of Pediatrics is calling this lack of playtime a national crisis, which is really strong language coming from them. So it's interesting that that's there, and what they said is play is so important to optimal child development that it's recognized by the United Nations High Commission for Human Rights as a right of every child. We must advocate for changes specific to the needs of each child's social and environmental context that work to enhance their ability to play. So the UN and the American Academy of Pediatrics are working together to further this cause of play. And what they're saying is that, like, there's this big study at Stanford that you'll see referenced a lot around play. It was done in 2007. And what they really looked at was how free play, the kind of goofing off and laughing stuff that you're doing with the kids, maintained the cognitive, physical, social, and emotional development and well-being of the child. They're getting higher SAT scores laughing with you. They're getting better social skills. And they're learning to self-regulate, which is really, I mean, that's what we're going for as adults, is we want adults that are able to hang on to whatever it is they feel until they get to that place that's set aside for their listening time, not go off at the poor barista at Starbucks because they've had a bad day. You know, they need to regulate. They need to take emotional time to the right place. So there was also a fascinating study that was reported in the big British medical journal. It was done by a woman named Susan Walker. And they did a randomized study. So the holy grail of research studies. And they had a control group. They had 130 kids in their study. The youngest one was 24 months old, and the oldest one was 9. The group that they studied had different forms of stunted development. So these were children that had failed to thrive. These were children from orphanages, from abusive homes. These were children that had serious emotional deficits. And they got 1 weekly play session with an adult for an hour and demonstrated significant long-term gains. They followed these kids until they were 17 years old. And they could demonstrate better psychosocial functioning, less anxiety, less depression, fewer attention problems. The kids in the group that got an hour a week with an adult that cared about, children who were already damaged, got an hour a week of playtime with a caring adult. And it changed the way their brains functioned. It changed the incidence of attention disorders. It measurably changed their neurochemistry as nearly adults. They followed them until they were 17. So, it gave them those emotional self-regulatory skills that were necessary for adult relationships. There's a lot of great stuff that I won't cover in the hand-in-hand literature review that talks about Aletha Solter's work, and there are several books on our reading list. I recommend that you read her. Aletha Solter. And it's on the reading list, and it's on the website. There are a number of really important things that she had to say in good research. But one of the things that we're focusing on when we're talking to parents is using play listening in this kind of environment to build that essential connection with your child. In order to do well as adolescents and young adults, we know kids have to have a certain kind of parent-child connection, or an adult. You know, if it's not a parent, it's a stepmom. If it's it's another figure. When the play is allowed, so this is from the American Pediatrics Association, as conservative a group of doctors as you're ever going to put in one room. Here's what another thing that they said. When the play is allowed to be child-driven, okay? They're in charge. They're the doctor, you're getting the shots. They're the dentist, you've got the cavities. They're in charge, you're bumbling after them. They're practicing decision-making skills. They're moving at their own pace, discovering their own passions and areas of interest. That helps them engage fully in the things that they want to pursue. It teaches them to learn things that are meaningful for them. So, ideally, this is the pediatricians talking, ideally, much of this play involves adults. But when the play is controlled by adults, children don't get any of those benefits. They acquiesce to the adult rules or the expectations. The play loses the benefits, particularly in developing creativity, leadership, and group skills. It's essential for hand-in-hand, for organizations like ours, to give parents ways that they can be efficient in their use of time with their kids. Because they gotta cook, or there are other kids, or there's a new baby, or I gotta go to work, life happens, school starts, it's a busy life. So we wanna teach them to efficiently use their time with their children. So if we can teach them that special time and play listening, let go of your agenda for a minute and demonstrate for your child the kind of cooperation, flexibility, and enthusiasm you'd love to see from them the other 23 3/4 hours in the day. Then, seriously, that's what you want from them all the time. It's like, just show them the way with a little bit of your time in play listening. It reduces stress. It reduces